Lawyers of Reddit, what are some interesting laws loopholes? In Oklahoma, if you are an adopted child, you will be considered an heir of both your adoptive parents and your biological parents after their death. Double inheritance. In South Dakota, if you ride a horse to school and the temperature is below a certain point, the school is forced to house and feed it. False, there are neither schools or horses in either of the Dakotas. As a lawyer, I'm going to give a serious answer, which may not be super interesting to the layman, but is an example of a true loophole. In Australia, as in most developed countries, we have a set of laws designed to stop company management from improperly fleecing the creditors of limited liability companies. So, for instance, if your company is going down the tubes and so you decide to simply transfer all of the company's assets to yourself, or if you keep running up debts you could not possibly pay, then you can be held liable. In order to be held liable for the above, the company's liquidator needs to be able to prove that the company was insolvent at the time you engaged in the improper conduct, which necessarily requires analyzing the company's financial records. If the company never kept financial records, which is itself a breach of the law, then insolvency is presumed, to avoid company directors being able to avoid liability in that way. Now for the loophole. The above presumption only applies if your company did not keep or retain financial records. However, the instant your company is in liquidation, the equivalent of bankruptcy in the USA, a company director ceases to be an agent of the company. So if they take the company's books and destroy them, then the presumption of insolvency does not apply, since it was not the company that destroyed them. You can be prosecuted for the destruction of the company's books, but it's basically a slap on the wrist fine in practice. So long as you can live with that, it means you can get away with virtually any unlawful conduct you engaged in while running the company. The above may not be something that pops up every day, and it may not make for great party conversation, but it is a rather gaping loophole that makes a huge difference to a director's responsibility in Australia. Posting a sign saying you aren't responsible doesn't necessarily make you not responsible. For example, say a dry cleaning shop posts, "Not responsible for lost or damaged clothing." My favorite are the gravel trucks that have a sign on the back stating "Stay back 200 feet, not responsible for broken windows." How many people actually believe that? In Michigan, if A sues B and secures a judgment for money damages, these are the rules on what B can keep. All family pictures, all arms and accoutrements required by law to be kept by any person, all wearing apparel of every person or family, and provisions and fuel for comfortable subsistence of each householder and his or her family for 6 months. B. All household goods, furniture, utensils, books, and appliances, not exceeding in value $1,000. C. A seat, pew, or slip occupied by the judgment debtor or the judgment debtor's family in any house or place of public worship, and all cemeteries, tombs, and rites of burial while in use as repositories of the dead of the judgment debtor's family or kept for burial of the judgment debtor. D. To each householder, 10 sheep, 2 cows, 5 swine, 100 hens, 5 roosters, and a sufficient quantity of hay and grain, growing or otherwise, for properly keeping the animals and poultry for 6 months. E. The tools, implements, materials, stock, apparatus, team, vehicle, motor vehicle, horses, harness, or other things to enable a person to carry on the profession, trade, occupation, or business in which the person is principally engaged, not exceeding in value $1,000. In Texas you could keep your house in bankruptcy, no matter the value. Then one of the Enron guys claimed the homestead exemption on a $15 million house. The feds made them change the law after that. I regularly tell people there is no magic number on a DUI charge. While there is a legal DUI limit to 8 in the states, above which you are automatically considered impaired so long as the reading is considered valid and admissible. Most states have laws which allow any amount of alcohol in your system to qualify for the charge if the state can show the amount, no matter how low, sufficiently impaired your ability to operate the vehicle. Here we have DUI, driving under the influence, and DWI, driving while intoxicated, as, basically, separate laws. The first requires a 08, the second requires a showing you were intoxicated to a point your ability was sufficiently lessened. Fun fact to throw out at the local bar: when someone starts talking about how they had 3 beers and are below the legal limit, and therefore won't get a DUI as a result. I work at a petrol station in the UK. If you fill up your car and walk into the shop without a suitable means of pay, forgot your cash card doesn't work, we will give you an IOU form and you are not legally required to come back and pay the balance. We can send you a maximum of 3 letters and that's it. It would cost us more for court costs etc to get the cash off you. Sorry I ain't pertaining to ops lawyer answers, but I thought you would find this useful. I read in a book once that there is an outdated law in Alberta that hasn't been changed. This was a few years back though, that if you are released from jail you can demand a loaded gun and a horse to ride out of town. Anybody know what happened to this one? My boss homebrews beer, and he found out that in Texas, if you brew the beer yourself you can legally consume it even if you are underage. You can even buy all the needed equipment while underage too. My boss homebrews beer. With a beginning like that, this comment could not possibly be bad. You've been stopped by the bread cat. Like this video or he'll eat all your bread. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.